Wanted to know why I couldn't go see him at his dad's, and why can't his dad come over and see his bedroom at our house? It was really a wake-up call. Even if we don't want to for ourselves right now, we have to do it for him because he doesn't deserve this.
So I don't have a problem with you, Lala, and your husband.
Oh.
Whoa. Okay, all right, so wait, backstory.
Okay.
Because I held this in for an entire year, right? So when we first launched the reunion show, somebody that claims to be working in Swizz's camp reached out to me in what I now know is a DM via direct messenger, right? Saying, I work for Swizz and I need you to know that him and Lala have been having an affair. They are madly in love with each other, but he has already told Lala and continues to tell her, calm down, I'm not leaving my wife. If you don't believe me, go on his page on IG. He always starts leaving comments in the morning and she be the first one to respond. But she don't just leave one response. She keeps it going and going and going to the point where he says, you gotta chill because it's starting to look obvious to my wife. So I said, who are you and why are you giving this information to me? God, I love you. Thank you so much. Bless.
A whisper turned into a siren overnight. Timelines lit up with talk of a private recording that supposedly shows Swizz Beatz and Lala Anthony getting way too close for anyone's comfort. The clip hasn't been verified by any reliable source, and it hasn't surfaced in any official capacity, but the buzz is loud enough to shake the image Alicia Keys has carefully kept calm for years. But listen to this. Alongside the tape chatter, insiders claim Alicia hit a breaking point behind the scenes, a snap fueled by tension. People say she's held for far too long. This isn't just about a rumor. It's about a story that keeps looping back to the same themes. People aren't glued to the screen because of a single allegation.
Not around with Swizz and not breaking up happy homes. Like, people are forgetting when she moved into Swizz and them's house to work on the music with him, he was still married to his wife, living in that same house. And then she moved in while she was cool with the wife. It's plotting to steal her husband to cover up the fact that she's a dyke and she had just got caught beating that girlfriend of hers up down there in Aruba somewhere or something like that.
They're watching because this moment taps into a longer memory. It draws a straight line from old headlines to new speculation, from blended family peace to questions nobody really stopped asking, but that's not all. What's pulling attention now isn't only the what, it's the who, because when a friend's name gets added to the conversation, everything feels more personal. Let's zoom out and sit with what's known. Swizz married Mashonda in 2004. They welcomed their son in 2006, went public with a split around 2008, and finalized the divorce in 2010. Alicia and Swizz married that same year and had 2 kids, building a brand around music, love, and a fresh start. But here's where it gets sticky. Timelines overlap in ways fans never forgot. While still married, Swizz fathered a daughter in 2008 with UK artist Jonna Sebastian, and he also had a son from a prior relationship. That overlap became the spark that ignited years of pattern talk. By the time Alicia and Swizz said "I do," the public conversation had already split into 2 versions of the past. One that framed it as grown-ups moving forward after a separation, and another that framed it as a mess dressed up as a fairy tale. And then came the pivot. The couple leaned into positivity and family, the music flourished, and the spotlight softened around the old drama.
Wanted to know why I couldn't go see him at his dad's, and why can't his dad come over and see his bedroom at our house? It was really a wake-up call. Even if we don't want to for ourselves right now, we have to do it for him because he doesn't deserve this.
But fans who keep receipts never really let the timeline debate go. And that's exactly why the latest rumor hits like deja vu for a lot of people. Now, drop Lala Anthony into the mix and watch how fast the temperature rises. Alicia and Lala weren't strangers. They moved in overlapping circles, posted the occasional moment, and looked friendly in public-facing spaces. So when people started saying the alleged tape involves Lala, the angle shifted from messy to close to home. But here's the twist. It's not the first time the internet has tried to connect these dots. Whispers about Swizz and Lala. date back years in some corners of social media, though nothing concrete has ever made it beyond rumor. The 2021 radio wave is what cranked the volume. A host claimed someone tied to Swizz's team slid in with the allegation that Swizz and Lala were more than friends and had been for a while. The details were messy and unverified, the kind of story that lives in DMs and late-night calls, not court filings or official statements, but that wasn't all. Fans ran to Instagram and started reading into comments, likes, hints, and timestamps. Digital crumbs that can feel like evidence when you've already decided what the loaf looks like. Swizz pushed back in his own way, brushing it off and signaling loyalty in a post that seemed to nod at Alicia's track titled Lala. The message landed like a wink. This is the only Lala I'm rocking with. Go stream the album. To some, it sounded like a denial. To others, it sounded like a dodge wrapped in promo. But listen to this. Once a theory catches fire online, even a clever caption can look like smoke. And people will swear they smell something burning no matter how many windows you open. Silence can be strategy, but it's also rocket fuel for speculation. The alleged tape never hit a credible feed, and no reputable outlet corroborated it. But that didn't slow down the post. Whisper networks thrive on ambiguity, especially when the audience believes it's seen a version of this story before. But that's not all. Blind items sprinkled gasoline on top and vague clues pointing at a producer with a wandering eye and a powerhouse singer doing damage control in private. The names weren't printed, but the context did all the heavy lifting. Then came louder voices fanning the flames. Controversial commentators tossed in their own claims, alleging lines were crossed back in the day and painting narratives that felt cinematic. None of it was verified, and much of it relied on "I heard from someone who knows," which is the internet's version of a shrug. But here's where we need caution. Once people think they've mapped a pattern, new rumors stick to it like Velcro, and the line between alleged and accepted gets dangerously thin. So why does this particular storyline hold people so tightly? Partly because it feels like a saga with recurring characters and a theme the audience already knows how to hum. People attach themselves to patterns. The visionary producer with a complicated personal life, the superstar who believes love can outrun history, the friend who may or may not have crossed a line. But listen to this. Sometimes the story you're watching is really the story you're projecting, and the past becomes a lens, not a map. The full circle talk has gotten loud, and it's not hard to see why. That old saying, how you get them is how you lose them, isn't a fact. It's a fable people repeat because it makes messy situations feel like math. It offers justice in a world that rarely hands out clean endings, but that's not all. Karma is a compelling narrator, yet it doesn't sign documents or verify videos, and it doesn't appear in court. It lives in perception, and that's where this entire conversation has been living all along. What about the kids? That's the question that cuts through the noise. The healthiest moments in this story have always been the ones centered on co-parenting and stability. They're the quiet, unglamorous choices that rarely trend: aligned bedtimes, shared holidays, respectful communication, even when the adults don't agree. But listen to this. The internet isn't wired for nuance, and it rarely rewards restraint. That's why these rumors feel like a threat, not just to reputations, but to the delicate ecosystem that keeps a blended family steady. The alleged tape is the ghost that keeps the narrative alive. No outlet with standards has seen it, no legal team has acknowledged it, no time-stamped proof has emerged. But that's not all. The idea of the tape is doing more work than any clip ever could, because it creates a what if people can project anything onto. If it surfaces, we'll know. If it doesn't, the conversation keeps looping, because speculation is a renewable resource on the internet. So where does this go from here? One path is the quiet endurance route. Keep family business private, keep public movements normal, let the rumor run out of air. It's the oldest strategy in the book, and it often works when there's nothing solid to push against. But listen to this. For an audience that believes the pattern is real, silence feels like a shrug, and a shrug feels like a confession, even when it's just self-preservation. Another path is the soft fade. less togetherness online, fewer joint appearances, a slow shift that becomes obvious only in hindsight. It minimizes explosions and protects the kids, though it still inspires 1,000 think pieces. But that's not all. There's also the direct approach where someone steps up with a statement that draws a clear line between rumor and fact. It's bold, but it opens the door to follow-up questions the public will not stop asking. If you're watching for signals, watch for the subtle ones. The music sometimes tells a story before anyone does. So do partnerships, seating charts, ring fingers, and the sudden return of old friends in familiar comments. But listen to this. Not every hint is a hint, and not every caption is a clue. Sometimes a picture is just a picture, and you have to resist the urge to turn every pixel into a plot point. Here's what sits in the confirmed column. The timelines of relationships and marriages, the children and their ages, the documented history of a difficult overlap that got addressed from opposite angles in public. And here's what stays in the unverified column. The alleged tape, the claim that Alicia lost it behind closed doors, the idea that a years-long secret romance existed between Swizz and Lala, but that's not all. The radio assertions and blind items live in a gray zone, memorable, messy, and unproven. There's a human layer here that gets lost in the discourse. Alicia has built an identity around grounded joy and creative purpose, and it's not hard to imagine how even a baseless rumor could feel like a crack in that foundation. Lala has been vocal about rebuilding and moving forward, carving space that's hers alone, but listen to this. Swizz is a builder by nature, always on to the next art piece, the next show, the next collaboration. That forward momentum is brilliant for creativity and brutal for rumor control. The friend angle is the one that refuses to let go. It's not just about romance, it's about trust. That's why people can't stop talking. It's the possibility of an inside wound, but that's not all. If the rumor turns out to be wrong, the backlash will have targeted the exact space where a person is supposed to feel safest, in their circle. That's a high cost for a story that might never move beyond whispers. At some point, the public will move on to the next headline. That's how this works. But listen to this. The internet has a long memory for specific narratives, and those narratives can shape how future stories get told about the same people. The cast stays the same, the plot beats repeat, the audience keeps its scorecards. The smartest move for anyone involved is to let the work and the parenting speak louder than the speculation, even when the speculation gets loud. If you felt a knot in your stomach reading this, it's probably because you've seen versions of this in real life. Not the fame, the fracture. Love gets complicated, timing gets messy, and friends become question marks. But that's not all. The difference here is scale. Millions of people watching, projecting, and weighing in with definitive takes on information that's anything but definitive. Maybe the alleged tape appears tomorrow and changes everything. Maybe it never exists outside a rumor thread. Maybe the truth is quieter than any of us expect. A long conversation, a private decision, a choice to heal in a way that doesn't trend. But listen to this. Whatever happens next, a little care goes a long way. It's easy to treat people like characters. It's harder to remember there are kids and calendars and carpools woven into every headline. So here's the ground to stand on. Keep what's verified separate from what's guessed. Respect the parts of the story that belong only to the people living it. Allow for the possibility that some rumors stay rumors forever, and that silence might be maturity, not guilt, but that's not all. Also allow for accountability if proof does surface, and resist the urge to pretend a pattern can never break just because it has repeated before.